Despite their release date, the Razer Basilisk Ultimate and the Logitech G502 Lightspeed are still one of the best mice for gaming and productivity. They share a lot of similarities on paper, but they are quite different in reality. So today I'll be reviewing / comparing them based on my user experience. This video will be split into 10 parts, and for each comparison I'll be giving a check mark to whoever is superior in that category. Now, let's begin with the box. On the outside, both boxes have the exact same dimension, but the inside is completely different. The G502 opens up like an Apple product with a windowless display of the mouse. Razer, on the other hand, has this plastic shell covering the mouse when you reveal it. Both boxes include a 2-meter long micro B cable, a USB receiver, stickers, some instruction menus, and the mouse itself, of course. Logitech also includes a plastic box full of additional weights for the G502, while Razer offers a removable metal side button paddle for the Basilisk. If you care about product presentation, then the G502 clearly takes the win on this one. Moving on to the mice itself, it's pretty obvious that they have similar ergonomics. Both have this angled design with a protruding thumb rest on the left for better comfort. They may look similar, but to me they have a different feel. When I use the G502, my fingers feel a bit cramped because of the tightly grouped buttons and the small left and right paddle, which are barely thicker than my fingers. But when I'm using the Basilisk, I feel more relaxed because the paddles are bigger, the side buttons are more pronounced, and the sniper button is also easier to locate. The palm of the Basilisk also feels a bit more angled, while the G502 has a higher hump right below your index knuckle. So for me, the Basilisk earns a check mark for arguably better ergonomics. For measurements, the G502 has a length of 132mm, a grip width of 75mm, and a max height of 40mm. It also weighs 115 grams, which is quite heavy for a gaming mouse, so I'm not sure if anyone would even use those additional weights included. On the other hand, the Basilisk has a length of 130mm, a grip width of 60mm, and a max height of 42mm. It comes in at a weight of 106 grams, which is 9 grams lighter than a G502. 9 grams to me is honestly nothing, but for hardcore gamers, every gram counts, so I have to give a point for the Basilisk for being a bit lighter. Now let's talk about the technology inside these mice. The G502 uses their Lightspeed wireless dongle with their Hero 25K sensor, which has a max DPI of 25K. The Basilisk, on the other hand, uses their Hyperspeed wireless dongle and their 20K Focus Plus optical sensor, which has a max DPI of 20K. Both mice perform seamlessly with no lag whatsoever, so there's nothing to worry about there. Although the G502 is capable of higher DPI speed, most people won't be playing in that high of a sensitivity anyways. But if you somehow find the need to, then the G502 wins this round. Speaking of technology, the bigger difference are the switches. They both have 11 programmable buttons located all around the mouse, but for the left and right button, the G502 uses basic KL switches which feel just fine. Razer, however, blows this competition out of the water with their optical switches, which are faster, more responsive, and longer lasting than the KL switches in the G502. So, the Basilisk wins this round for undoubtedly superior switches. Now let's talk about the biggest difference between these mice, and that is the scroll wheel. I'm going to say this right off the bat, I do not like the G502 scroll wheel, and here's why. The G502 scroll wheel has two different modes, one being the regular clicky one, and two being the hyper scroll, which allows you to spin it freely. In its regular mode, the click is just too loud and pronounced. It digs into my fingers way too much, and it's not a comfortable experience. In its hyper scroll mode, it's so slippery that it even scrolls on its own when I tilt the mouse. Lastly, no matter what mode you're on, the scroll wheel on this is just as loud and is quite annoying. So listen for yourselves. On the flip side, I think Razer nailed the design of the Basilisk scroll wheel. It works like a regular scroll wheel, but it has this amazing feature I've never seen before, and that is a resistant dial. With this resistant dial, you have full customization of the scroll wheel's clickiness. If you know anything about mechanical keyboards, then the scroll wheel is like having a customizable combination of a linear, tactile, and clicky switch. What I like to do is lower the resistance down to 0 to make it feel like a linear scroll, if you will. No clicks, no noise, and super smooth. For me, the Razer Basilisk clearly has a better scroll wheel design without question. As you probably saw just now, both mice do have RGB lights which can be programmed with their respective software. The G502 has 2 RGB spots, the logo and the profile indicator, while the Basilisk has 4, the scroll wheel, the logo, and the left and right side. With that said, the G502 is rated for only 60 hours of battery life, while the Basilisk Ultimate is rated for 100. A 40-hour difference may not sound a lot, but from day-to-day use, I find myself charging the G502 way more often than the Basilisk. So even if you don't care about RGB, the Basilisk still wins for offering 40 more hours of battery life. Last but definitely not least, let's compare their build quality, starting off with their material. Both mice have this smooth matte coating on it, which looks really good until your hands start sweating. They pick up sweat all the time, but it does go away eventually. On the upside, the matte coating does make the mouse grip onto your hand pretty well, so it's a fair trade-off. Now I already said how cheap the G502's go with sound, but there's another part of the G502 that sounds even worse. Whenever you lift and drop your mouse, it makes this unsatisfying bounce noise. Now if you're wondering, the Basilisk also has this problem, but it's less noticeable. Flipping over both mice, the G502 uses regular skates while Razer uses PTFE feet, which are proven to be smoother for enhancing gaming performance. But although PTFE feet are claimed to be smoother, the way Razer arranged them on the Basilisk makes the mouse feel scratchier than the G502. And that's because they didn't merge the skates on the back edge of this mouse like they did with their Basilisk X Hyperspeed. Now I know they have to use that space to make up for their wireless charger, but that small gap at the back caused the mouse to dig into my mouse pad all the time. So although the G502 has worse skates statistically, the placement on them makes the mouse feel smoother than the Basilisk. Another thing I like about the G502 over the Basilisk is their USB receiver storage unit. Both mice have a plastic door for storing it under them, but Logitech added magnets to theirs, which makes it really convenient to take and put back the USB receiver. Razer on the other hand continued using their small plastic cover, which is really easy to lose. So the G502 gets the last check mark. Sadly, this is the end of the video, so let me know if you enjoyed this video by leaving a like down below. If you want to see more of these videos in the future, then consider subscribing. If you have any other suggestions on what mouse I should review or compare next, then drop a comment in the comment section down below. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.